welcome to the ESCAPUZZLED podcast, your one-stop shop for all escape room, immersive and tabletop games. You are joined by Helena, hello, that's me, and we've got Corey.
Hi.
And we're also joined by the fabulous Sam Lupton, the owner of Escape Rooms Durham. He's a magician, musician, a consultant, a director, a radio host, a quite impressive resume.
He's also an actor. He's been in things like Wicked on the West End, Disney's Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and as of today, on recording day, he has been announced to be Del Boy in Only Fools and Horses, the musical, the UK tour. Is there anything you can't do, Sam?
Yeah, I'm rubbish at building things and drawing, absolutely rubbish at, and maths.
Oh, okay.
Kind of all that really important stuff.
All those things that you need for business.
All the things you need for business, all the things you need for building any kind of structure or any kind of logistics, anything. Essentially, I sit there and think of things and then get more talented people to build them. That's what I do.
That's what management teams are for.
Exactly. I delegate.
Perfect. So, one of the things that we like to do on the ESCAPUZZLED podcast is to go through our escape room player profiles, which is essentially just a rundown of who you are as a person, but from an escape room perspective. Obviously, we know a little bit about you, as we just mentioned there, and I'm sure we'll get onto more of that in depth later on. But first things first, we put up a blog post a little while ago on the ESCAPUZZLED blog about player types and stereotypes. This is things like the explorer, the scaredy cat, the inquisitive person. What player type would you say you are in an escape room?
Well, out of the ones that are on your blog, I think I'm probably the organized one. I think I'm probably sort of stage managing the whole event, making sure, right, has everybody got a job? What about you? What are you doing? Why don't who's taking this corner? No one's looking under that desk. But I also do a lot of, I think there's an extra category I can maybe add here. Maybe kind of goes into another category, but I think there's the silent one that kind of stands there and does a lot of thinking and then suddenly just goes bananas or something like that. Right? It kind of not a lot of speaking happening, but just a lot of staring, and then eventually something comes out, which may or may not be correct.
I think I did have the underdog on there.
Whoa. I don't think that person's the underdog. I think that person's the silent assassin.
The silent assassin. Oof. I like that.
Oof, that's definitely getting added. I mean, 11's not a fun number. It doesn't quite sound the same, the 11 stereotypes. We've got to add another one to make it 12, to make it a round number. But
so are you the silent assassin?
I think so, or a mixture of the organizer / the silent assassin. But that suggests that every time you come up with something, it's going to be killer, which it's not. It can be quite often wrong.
I think I'm very much in the same category then.
Yeah.
God, you guys are really bad at teamwork.
Wow.
The pair of you.
No, because you're soaking it all up. You're soaking up the chatter in the room. You're soaking it all up. And it's like, if it was a TV show, there'd be loads of like maths equations appearing around your head.
Oh, like that meme.
Like that meme. And then suddenly you'd blurt something out, but you wouldn't be able to do it without that chatter of the team happening in the background.
It's that like third perspective, isn't it? It's just being able to listen to everything that's coming in and
it's a bit like what do they call it in The Matrix, where everything slows down?
Bullet time.
Bullet time. It's a bit like bullet time, kind of slows down. Someone in a slow motion in the corner opening a lock. So somebody
oh wait, I've just worked this out in my own head.
A laminate kind of flapping across the room in slow motion.
Oh goodness, I'd hate to watch back slow-mo footage of me in an escape room. It would be hideous.
Very boring, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be thoroughly entertaining for the person watching, but it would not be okay.
So Escape Rooms Durham has multiple different kinds of themes. So you've got like a lab theme, you've got a ghosty theme game. What is your favourite type of theme? What is your favourite theme that you've encountered doing escape rooms, or even just something that you want to create yourself?
I really like I like meta themes. Okay. I like self-referential things. I like things that are sort of twisty and turny. Do you know what I mean? Things that maybe start as one thing and turn into another. Really enjoy that. Or entire themes that have a surprise to them. So, you think you're doing one thing, halfway through the game, turns into something else. I'm sure people have played games where that happens. But I think any theme can be absolutely fantastic on the strength of the game. The theme could be a completely blank room that's just completely white with nothing in it. That's a great theme. If you can make a great game out of that, that's surely ding, ding, ding. Do you know what I mean?
I think I've written this game.
I think we
Have a
talked
complete-
about it.
yeah.
Are we being open, by the way, about our relationship?
I mean, we can. I don't have a problem, but I don't know whether do you want me
Well,
to
this
speak
is
for your
ominous.
company?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, you used to be my general manager.
Okay, cool. I've like
There we go.
skirted around the
Well,
fact.
Well, that's
that
all right.
it
But I
works.
just think, we're going to chat about, they're going to be like, how come Helena knows so much about Sam's
Okay.
business? Well, she used to general manage it.
It's
so-
the general manager, yes, but-
I did say to Helena when we were writing the show notes, you probably know the answer to most of these questions. So do you want to add
Yeah.
some that you don't know the answers to?
I think we always discuss that, didn't we? We always discuss the idea of what if you could walk into a completely blank room and there was seemingly absolutely nothing in it. Again, like a kind of blank space, and how would that work? And that was always quite a fun theme. So yeah, things that just subvert the genre a bit or subvert themes a little bit, I always quite enjoy.
Okay, so what is your least favorite theme?
Least favorite theme? It's not so much a theme as sort of a least favorite feature, which is, and I'm sure this is a universal thing, which is when a company has said it's a theme, but actually it's just sort of an office with stickers of that theme. Do you know what I mean? Like someone says it's a spaceship theme, but actually all it is it's an old undecorated office with some stars stuck to the ceiling and a globe in the corner. Do you know what I mean? Like
So it's glow in the dark stars on the ceiling.
yeah, but I guess that's not really a theme. I mean, there's nothing wrong with glow in the dark stars, but if it's not a spaceship. Glow in the dark stars did not a spaceship make. That's all I'm going to say. But
That's a Shakespearean quote, isn't it?
possibly, I missed that on it. But I think this is just pure personal preference. I don't like Alice in Wonderland themed things. Apologies to any Alice in Wonderland themed games out there. I'm sure they're brilliant. It's just something that I look at and I'll scroll past and not book. I don't know why.
We've heard this.
I'm
We had
sort
this
of
before.
not a thing for me. I don't know. And I'm not particularly. It's not that I don't like them. I'm not particularly drawn to wizard school games. Not mentioning any brands or anything, but any games set in a generic wizard school, I don't really get into. But I mean, they're good and people like them. Obviously, clearly, there's loads of them. But yeah, not for me.
I think Alice in Wonderland, wizardry, and pirates tend to be the ones that keep cropping up.
You see, I like pirates. I do like a pirate theme. I think pirates are exciting. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Something about the wizarding universe and yeah, Alice in Wonderland, a giant kind of jam tarts and Queen of Hearts and rabbits. Nah, I'm all right.
I think I like the idea of like building that game and creating those really fun and unique sort of cake shapes and doors that are tiny that you've got to fit through. I think it would be fun to build. Well, isn't it?
I won't come, but
No, that's fine. So but as a game, I have done them before, and I've expected a lot more.
Mm.
And do you know when?
I mean, there's shade on this podcast.
Oh, there is.
I wasn't
Little bit of
expecting
shade.
this kind of harsh critique.
Well, no, like I've played them, I've done them, and I've sat. So as a game writer, as a game creator, I'll sit back in a game and go, I wish it just did this.
Yeah.
I think we've all done a game like that. If you've done a few games of, I just wish that this was a part of it, or they could have gone further with that. Yeah. And
I know exactly what you mean. Or you see something and you go, "Oh, that's going to be amazing," and you go, "Oh, it's just a thing."
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So this question is something that we ask every guest, and again, I'm going to say if you ask this to any normal person, unless it was just some like weirdo builder or something, unless you asked it to an escape room person, this wouldn't make any sense. But what is your favorite type of lock?
My favorite type of lock is a lock that isn't a lock. So anything that doesn't, anything that I don't know is a lock. It could be a plant pot that you twist, or you have to move onto something and that unlocks something. Do you know what I mean? Something that is that not really answering the question? Do you?
No,
Are you asking me about which brand of padlock I like? Like I
Big
just
fan of Master.
I like locks that you don't realize are locks initially. I think that's always fun. If you want me to answer what is my favorite lock, I love a directional lock. Bring them back. Why have we stopped
Oh, I
making them?
know. I'm so
Like I
upset.
like them. They're great
love
fun,
them.
and they're full of possibilities for writing as well. So I do like that. Also, possibly I know this isn't answering the question, giving you 3, but
Ooh.
I think there's nothing more exciting than finding a key that opens a door. Just a
I
key.
agree.
It's a normal key, a locked door that you've been looking at for 45 minutes. You open something and there's a key. That's exciting. I like that.
You like the physical keys?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
like
push
that.
screens too much during the day. I don't really want to push screens in an escape room. I want to feel things tactically with my hands. Do you know what I mean? I want to feel real stuff. I don't want to press screens. I can do that at home. I want to do things physically, I think.
I love that. Bring keys back. Bring keys back to
Bring back
escape
keys.
rooms.
I feel like we need a little funeral for directional locks.
I know.
A little homage.
The panic of escape room owners all over the country frantically rewriting any game that includes a directional lock now that they discontinued.
I was going to say, I bet their sales went through the roof when they announced they were no longer
I
making
think
them.
there's a black market somewhere in the escape room community for directional locks. Someone's squirreling them away.
Under the counter locks.
When they first decided they weren't going to make them anymore, the price of them, it got up to like £100 for a lock. And I was genuinely concerned of going, okay, well, it's fine. I can just find somebody to 3D print locks. But they kind of came down and they became a bit more reasonable. But there was a whole few months of pure panic on the escape room.
It's like the whole lockdown toilet roll situation.
Oh my God, Corey, I went exactly the same thing. Toilet roll in lockdown. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Somebody's hoarding directional locks next to their big pile of toilet rolls still. Hey, my goodness. On the flip side of that, I know we've already talked about shade. We're gonna go there again. What is your least favorite type of puzzle? It doesn't necessarily have to be a lock. It could be a puzzle or something in general. But what is your least favorite?
A puzzle that isn't a puzzle. So either just like a maths problem, that's not a puzzle. That's a maths problem, as far as I'm concerned. Like that requires you're not asking me to put together bits and pieces to find a key in my mind, which is what a puzzle is. You're asking me what an equation is, which, you know, if I've got a master's in maths, I might find really easy. But if I'm me, I'm not going to enjoy doing that. Like, you know, I run a business. I have calculators in spreadsheets. So, you know, I don't like maths. And I also don't like things that take a really long time once you've discovered what you need to do. So I'm sort of making this up. I haven't actually played this. But for example, if you needed to get, you know, like the old, what was it, like the buzz games where you had to move like a metal ring along a metal thing. And if you touched the line, it would buzz and you had to go back to the start.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of thing. Like, I don't like that kind of stuff. Maybe that's okay for a little bit. But if that thing has buzzed 5 times and you've gone back to the start and it's just, I know exactly what I need to do, I just need to do it now, I think that gets boring very, very quickly. So I personally don't like doing those. The thing that gives me the kick when I'm solving a puzzle is you find the solution and then great, I've got the solution. That's it in my mind. I can then input it and move it on to the next thing immediately. I don't want to go, that's the solution. Now let me spend 10 minutes trying to input what I've done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
That's kind of my least favorite
I
puzzle.
feel like it depends on the situation. Some longer puzzles and things that like you have to solve as you go along have a little bit more satisfaction when you get to the end of it. But I fully agree. If something's taking too long and you know what you have to do, you just can't do it.
I think if there's something else going on, if you're doing something as part of a longer journey with other stuff happening, I think that's fine. So for example, like if you had to, I'm giving away ideas here. If you had to like pull down a lever, but it was kind of spring loaded or something, and if the lever was down, that lit up loads of words in another part of the room that then people had to shout, but you then had to lift the lever up because it was so hard to keep down. I think that's all right, because what that's doing is that's testing teamwork and endurance and things like that. But if it's just a little bit too hard and other team members are waiting for you to do that thing, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. Things that halt the game purely based on skill that is not changeable within the room. You either can do that or you can't. Yeah. And no amount of that clock ticking or you thinking any harder is going to help you solve it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You can't really clue a puzzle like that either.
No. No, just keep trying. Keep trying.
Just do it again. And
Have you
And
tried going back to the start?
and that gets boring dead quick. So I think that's my least favorite puzzle. It's where you know what you need to do, nobody else can help, and you sat there going, "Well, try again. Attempt 15."
so, what is your main strength in an escape room?
I'm pretty good, and I think it's because that's not the end of the sentence, by the way.
I'm pretty
I am
good.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at the communication bit, and I think it's because I've run games and I've been an operator and seen people not communicating. So you know that kind of constant commentary thing that you see in pro players and designers where they're like, okay, there's a drawer here, we need a lock for this, there's a number lock there, there's that. I think I'm quite good at that kind of commentary thing, but also remembering what other people are saying and sort of I'm pretty good at the sort of organizing of vocal information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it comes back to that organized player profile,
I
doesn't
think
it?
so, yeah.
Yeah, like that. It's also what I said was mine is communication because I've run so many games. I now completely understand what a game operator wants to hear. And they
Yeah.
want to go, okay, so we've got this code, we've done this puzzle, we've put that to one side. This is the point we're at the game. And then when you ask for those clues, your game operator can go, yep, that's fine. I know exactly where they are, even if they are audible, even if they're just using cameras. You're clearly communicating exactly what you've got, and it's so much easier to run a game.
Yeah.
Oh, please shout at each other. Communication is absolutely key.
Nothing like a silent room.
Ran so many silent rooms in my time.
Strange.
So on the flip side of strengths, obviously we touched on this before when you said you weren't a particular fan of maths, but what would you say are your weaknesses within an escape room?
I don't know what it is, but every time I play a game, there will be something that I just cannot see, as in even when it's solved. I can't see it. And I'm like, oh, I would never have got that. There's always at least one thing, but maybe that's the same for everybody. I think also I'm a bit impatient. If I've spent 5 minutes on something, I'd rather just walk off.
Give it to somebody else.
Try and find something else to do and just call in the B team or the A team and just go, no, this is beating me. So yeah, I don't have huge patience. Like I remember operating games and seeing people who would sit with something for 20 to 25 minutes, kind of going, this won't beat me. I don't quite have that longevity. I'll go, yeah, you've beaten me. Fine, I'm off for a coffee. Like, I don't have the best patience. That's probably a weakness, really.
So the first year that I built and produced a Christmas escape room, Sam came home and he played it. And I've never seen Sam by himself in an escape room before, but he fully did that. He fully put his hands on his hips and went, this is too hard. What is it?
Wasn't I in there for it was a 60-minute game and I was in there for like an hour and 20.
Yeah.
That was awful. Yeah, it was a good game.
It was a brilliant game. I'll bring it back. Bring back Naughty or Nice.
Yes, great game.
But yeah, I've never seen Sam give up on anything. And to do it to my game, I was like, is this a really bad puzzle?
She beat
So
me.
hard.
Do you remember what the puzzle was, just out of curiosity?
Was it something to do with I think it was something to do with presents, wasn't it? Christmas presents under a tree or something like that?
It might have, no, because you were collecting them on that game. It would have been the hardest puzzle in the game, which was the reindeers. So you had to put these reindeers in a certain order, but they didn't go in the order that the reindeers typically do. And it's kind of like a bit of a mind twist. So it was like, this color can only go with this color.
Yeah, it was a bit of a matrix.
Fruit can only be followed by a color that has B starting with it. So it was it had multiple layers to it, and you had to take the puzzle apart multiple times to get the correct order to get 4 numbers out of it. Yeah. Oh god, I love that puzzle so much.
Yeah, I'd been in there a long time after a very long day of traveling by that point. And it was like, yeah, this is good. Okay, let's go.
Never wants to see a reindeer ever again.
No.
I don't want to either. They were the bane of my life for all of December. At some point, a leg would be missing, an antler would be missing. So we had somebody who would laser etch them for us. And every couple of weeks, I was like, can I have another 24 reindeers?
The second year we did that, we were like, we need more durable reindeers.
Can I have some thicker reindeers?
Burnished out of steel.
I think we ended up just really, really coating them in as much paint as we possibly could. And clear coating them to the point that they were almost plastic, but they survived. And I only made 2 sets for the whole of December the second year around, so did something right. So if you could collect up your absolute dream team, so it can be celebrities, it can be taskmasters, it can
Ooh.
be escape room operators, if you've met a really great one, who would be on your dream team?
So I guess I'm on the team.
Yeah, you and 4 others. It can be alive or dead. It's entirely up to
Oh
you.
wow. Okay, well, they're not going to be much use, are they?
They come back to life. We're not just throwing corpses into the room.
That is an important detail. Okay, I think. Oh my goodness me! Do you know what? Just for the pure joy of it, Richard O'Brien from the Crystal Maze.
Oh, God, I love that man.
Just so that he can run around and go 30 seconds. He wouldn't help with the game. He just
Plays harmonica.
he plays harmonica in the corner and be like, maybe look in the cupboard. You know, that'd make me happy. I think maybe The Rock would be really fun to have. See, I don't know whether you think I'm approaching this the wrong way, but have you noticed that I'm not really interested in winning the game. I'm more interested in just having a nice time while I'm in there. Right. So I think The Rock would be a really nice guy to have in there. That'd be fun. Darren Brown would probably be pretty good.
Oh, he'd be very good.
yeah.
Would he?
Darren would do well, maybe. He's a very smart man.
A Darren Brown escape room would be good. I know they did the ride at Thorpe Park, but I think if Darren did a game,
He did a ghost train. Didn't he?
yeah, Ghost Train was great.
Who else? Well, magicians are good. So I'd have Darren as the magician. We've got a wrestler. We've got Richard O'Brien bringing the harmonica. One more.
One more.
Somebody like, what's her name? Who interviewed Prince Andrew on that Newsnight special? Who's the
I've
journalist?
literally just rewatched that as well.
Yeah, Emily Maitlis.
There we go. Oh my God, she'd be so intense.
Wouldn't Emily Maitlis be like your secret weapon in an escape room? It should be great.
Just stand in the corner and watch everybody, and then she'd be the secret assassin.
She'd be the silent assassin. She'd be in the corner, and then she'd come in and just go 7912 like that, and it'd pop open, and you'd go, "Thank you, Maitlis," and then
You wouldn't even have to put it
Richard would
in.
be there going, "Let's go." That's my dream team.
That's a brilliant
is-
dream team.
Quite the odd team, but hey, you'd have a good time.
Listen,
You'd
I
have a
love
good
that The
time.
Rock made it in there.
He's going to be in the corner, just being completely bewildered by everybody else, just going, why am I here? Who are
All of these tiny people around him.
Like Gulliver's Travels.
Okay, so Sam, I actually don't know the answer to this question, which I think is absolutely wild, considering I worked with you for 7 years. Why escape rooms, and how did you get into them?
I have no idea how I first heard about them. I can't remember. I remember reading about it online, and it was happening over in Prague, I think, was the first one I read about. I know that Prague was a very early taker of escape rooms, builder of escape rooms. And I remember going, that sounds really cool. And at the time I was working as an actor, and I just started playing escape rooms in London where I was working, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And what I sort of realized was this is theatre, but without the actors, which for a lot of people is preferable. And I'd kind of worked in theatre all my life since I was 16. So when I was 16, I worked in technical theatre. I learned about lighting. I learned about sets. I learned about electrics. I learned how to be a stage manager. How do you manage a live event like a performance? How do you organize front of house against backstage? But I learned it all from a theatre place. And then I trained as an actor, went to drama school. And then I was working as an actor, which I still am, as well as doing the escape rooms. And I was playing escape rooms and going, this is just theatre without an auditorium. And it's immersive and it's surrounding me. But the way these lights, I could recognize it. Okay, so the way that these lights are changing is the same system that we use in theatre. And the way that that door opens is a very similar system. And that's just a screen. I inherently sort of understood how it worked and kind of just had a flair for sort of the logistics of it, I guess. The thing that was alien to me was the puzzle element. I wasn't a big gamer. I'd never done kind of tabletop games. I'd never done strategy games, anything like that. I did like board games, and I really like quizzes and things like that. But it was the theatrical element that I really enjoyed, and the idea that you could transport an audience or a team, again, using theatrical language instead of gaming language, to a different kind of place. And I left a long-running show. It was Wicked in London. and I didn't have a job to go to. I had some spare time, and I decided that I wanted to look into escape rooms, which this was 2015, 2016. So still kind of early days in the UK, certainly. And I didn't want to join the London market for various economic reasons. And my base, where I'm from, where all my family are, is Durham in the northeast. And I knew it very well. I knew the city very well. It's a very small city. It's one of the smallest cities in the UK, but big university town. And I remember Googling escape rooms in Durham and going, okay, let's check if there is one, hoping that the answer would be no, and going, well, if there isn't, I'll set one up. And I Googled it, and with that, all my dreams had ended because there was a company in Durham. And I thought, oh, well, never mind, let's book in. So I organized it and I emailed them and I said, can I book in to play on this date? And I got an email back saying, oh, really sorry, but actually we're closing. And I remember saying, oh, do you mind if I'm a bit nosy and ask why? And essentially, I won't go into the details, but they just decided they wanted to close. The business was okay and the business was healthy, but they were sort of more running it as a bit of a hobby. They weren't particularly interested in running it as a business full time. And they'd got to the point where it was either go serious or go home. And they were deciding go home. I kind of went, all right, well, can I buy it? And they went, yeah, all right. That's kind of it. A sum of money was exchanged. And I then collected the keys and suddenly owned an escape room. It was quite daunting. And it had one game. And I sort of in the negotiation to take over the business said, I'd like to buy it with 2 games. They had another game in development. And so I sort of actually inherited it with 1.5 games, kind of when I took it over. I'm sure if the original owners listening to this, he wouldn't be upset with me saying that second game wasn't quite at opening quality, let's put it that way. So I sort of got 1.5 games and got to work. A very small team, like 3 or 4 people to start with. And the first players started coming through the door. And I remember the first Saturday we opened, I think I took over the keys on the Wednesday. I think the Wednesday and the Thursday I deliberately closed and just sort of invited some family along to sort of understand it without the risk of paying customers. And then a few people paid on the Friday and a few people came along on the Saturday. And I think we sold out the day. And it was like 10 till 10, chock-a-block. And I was like, this is a bit silly, isn't it? And it was brand new. And it was just utterly thrilling, utterly thrilling. Again, the logistics of it, the showbiz of it, the anticipation of people coming to do something that at that point they still weren't quite sure exactly what it was. And we still get those customers now, obviously, who've never done it before and are still full of this anticipation. There's a lot more people who've played a few now, but at the time, no one had done any, especially in the Northeast, in Durham. And so there was this real sense of, what are we doing? And yeah, it's just really exciting. So that's the origin story. And then it's like 8 years later.
I think it turns 9 in September.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. To make me feel
How
old.
wild is that?
I didn't have any grey hair when I started, and now I do. So there you go.
Hopefully due to aging and not stress of the business.
A bit of both.
I can't imagine going to book an escape room and then ending up buying the business.
It's quite impressive, Sam.
Yeah, that's a hard flex.
Well, there was a bit of an ulterior motive to booking the room. Like there were.
Yeah.
I was going along to scout it out,
Not to just go and enjoy. What game was there in there?
The game that was in there was Mr.
What's
Borrowdale's
Study?
Study.
Yeah.
Which is still operating. It's been through some changes. It's been through a couple of upgrades. But yeah, Mr. Borrowdale's Study at Escape Rooms Durham, to use gamer speak, is a bit of a Gen 1 game, and I absolutely adore it. It's a really, really well-written, I can say that because I didn't write most of it, linear game with just the right amount of padlocks, a couple of extra bits and pieces we've put in recent years just to spice things up a little bit, but it looks like a traditional idea of what an escape room is in, I'm going to use the word layman, a layman's head, an inexperienced player, a random person off the street. If you describe what an escape room is, Mr. Borrowdale's Study is probably what they're thinking of. An old study belonging to an old gentleman. It probably smells of cigar smoke or pipe smoke, even though it doesn't. I'll just point that out. It doesn't. We could do in your imagination. And yeah, it's just a linear game in a spooky study. And I love the simplicity of the theming and the simplicity of the plot And we still, and I am going to slight brag, I'm going to allow myself 2 brags. Says brag number 1, slight brag that we still get very experienced players who have played the most highly technical, technically advanced, multi-layer, multi-room meta games who play Mr. Borrowdale's Study and go, just the quality of the puzzle writing in there and the simple linear nature of it is so ridiculously satisfying. And I agree.
That was a love letter to Mr. Borrowdale.
It was. And if you want to play it, get in quick. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh.
Yeah. Exclusive on the pod.
So this perfectly segues us onto the next question, which was going to be, how did you choose the themes at the city venue? Obviously, Mr. Borrowdale's Study, we have the origin story for now, but where did the lab idea come from?
I think it came from the idea that we wanted to do something that was the complete opposite of something that felt wooden. So therefore, you might go metallic. And there's various options. I mean, it literally starts with those kind of opposites, I think. And we wanted something that instead of books and typewriters and hat stands was lasers and cages and gas and and greens and reds and things like that. So it kind of naturally went in a direction of a lab. We're extremely limited on space in the middle of Durham city. It's a medieval city. We're in the middle of the old town in a building that was built God knows how many hundreds of years ago. So the staircases are wonky, the floors are wonky, the walls are spit and rain. It's very spooky. It's exactly what you want from a medieval building. It's not a great blank canvas to build something in. So we are in our city centre venue. We've always been stuck with the floor plans that we have, and it was just the size of the room felt right that it was some kind of contained scientific facility. And like I said, it was. If you didn't want to play a spooky study, you probably wanted to play something like a science lab. So I'd love to say that it was my, ex-career as a chemist. It wasn't. It was a commercial decision based on what's the opposite of a study.
It's fair. It's probably the best way to do it, because then you get far ends of the spectrum on what people are after. If they want that old-fashioned vintage look, they can go for Borrowdale. If they want that more futuristic, they can obviously go for the lab, and then it caters to everyone without it being overcomplicated.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing how scientists react to the lab, sort of how they're drawn to it or not, actually. But it allowed us to use things like electronic safe locks and things that beep, which isn't what we had in Mr. Borrowdale's Study. So it was a sensory thing as well.
So we're going to talk about Sam's magnum opus. I think it would be the correct way to say it. The absolute crown jewel that is Lily of Lumley, based at Lumley Castle Hotel in Chesley Street, Durham.
Yeah.
So how did the room at Lumley Castle come about?
So for people who don't know, Durham is a medieval city. It's an old university city. It's got a huge cathedral. It's got a huge castle. So it made sense when we were thinking about room 3. We were thinking, what do we want to do? And history was really screaming at us. It was like, well, we're known for history. It seems a bit silly not to go in that direction. There's something castle-y, something mythical, something, if we're talking material again, we're going stone here as opposed to metals and woods. And so we started talking to the castle, which is owned by the university. We spoke to the cathedral, which is obviously owned by the church. We started speaking to some of the old buildings, the town hall, churches, things like that. And it took us ages to even get meetings for some of these very old places. I'm sure lots of escape room owners who are trying to expand into interesting buildings will share their experiences of just people going, oh, we don't quite understand it, so no thanks. And then that being the end of the conversation. And we got contacted by a hotel that was based inside a 600-year-old castle, and it was a match made in heaven. And we got an email going, we're interested in having an escape room in a castle. Is this something you'd consider? And my jaw hit the floor. and I just went, what is going on here? Like, this is crazy. So to cut a long story short, that conversation lasted about 18 months. And then fast forward to after lots of writing meetings and building and strategy, we opened what I believe at the time, not sure about now actually, but what I believe at the time was the first escape room in a building that was like more than 600 years old or something like that. So, and it opened in, we say it's the dungeon. I mean, I know it as the wine cellar.
It's the wine cellar.
It is the wine cellar. But it could have been a dungeon. It feels like a dungeon. It feels like a dungeon if you've done 10 hours of escape games down there on a Saturday. But it's spooky and it's authentic, and we have built a set into that room, but if you imagine a 4-walled room, 2 walls of that are the authentic stone walls of a 600-year-old castle using the existing footprint. And yeah, that was where we'd been running the business a couple of years. We were getting more confident, more ambitious with puzzle ideas, and the castle crucially had its own existing legend about a ghost. And so we thought, right, we're going spooky. And I want to differentiate between spooky and scary. It wasn't a scare game, it was a spook game. So family friendly, but a little bit spooky, maybe a little bit spooky for little ones. We cast a ghost, we filmed a ghost, we were using back projection screens and projection technology to have ghosts appear, and we kind of went all out with our imaginations. And yeah, it's multi-room. You know, it's been open since 2019, but there's still puzzles in Lily of Lumley that I haven't really seen anywhere else. I'm very proud of it.
I am also incredibly proud of that game. After leaving, and then I came back to run my wonderful engagement game, and I hadn't touched it in, I think, probably 2 or 3 months at that time. I just sat down and ran that game and went, oh my gosh, I wish I could forget this game and do it again and just play it. It's Lily of Lumley.
I think also the thing that is obvious, if you come to Lily of Lumley, I think that's the best example we have of sort of the theatrical influence. There's lots of theatre tropes in that. There's a full underscored soundtrack. There's a character delivering the clues. There is a clue delivery system. There's a built-in character. There is no visible screen that you understand as a screen in the room, if that makes sense. I'll be a bit cryptic there. And I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, there are locks that you don't realize are locks until they unlock, which went with the idea of magic and illusion and some sort of supernatural force in this old building. And we use lighting to great effect. We have a full lighting design and lighting rig, so it's not the same lighting state. Lights fade, specials come up to illuminate certain areas. There are different soundtracks in different rooms of the game. There are video cues. Yeah, that's a full stage piece, Lily of Lumley. Very proud of it.
It is one of my all-time favorite games, and I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up his, but it is genuinely one of my all-time favorites, just because of the theatricality as a whole, and obviously the authenticity of the building is something that you can't replicate.
No.
You just have to be in the actual place.
Yeah, walking to the game, you're walking through the grounds of a 600-year-old castle. You're coming into the castle. There's a cat that lives in the castle that comes and says hello. Stuff that you wouldn't get on an industrial estate or in a shopping unit. We could build Lily of Lumley in a shopping unit. We could do that. We could build a fake castle. It wouldn't be anywhere near as attractive as that drive up the long driveway towards a real castle. I think that's all part of the experience.
Yeah, I think the immersiveness and the general creepiness of walking into the reception area and not really knowing where you're going, and then somebody requesting that the person organizing the escape room comes to receive you, and then they take you through the story, and you've got the elements of the castle as you're walking through and the smells.
Yeah, so the explanation of the game, our briefing takes place over an old well. Like, that's real. We didn't build
it's a real well.
part of the castle. So we were very, very lucky with that building. And yeah, it's still a joy to run and a joy to play.
When I initially did Lily of Lumley, speaking of the well, Helena was running the game at the time, and she was telling us obviously about the ghost story of Lily. And some waiter happened to walk past the window behind the well, and it scared the living daylights out of me.
Yeah, it's a spooky game.
So we were in the courtyard well, and just
not
in the well, but next to it, just between the two, like the turrets of it, somebody walked through, and we were like, me as a game operator, Corey and Tom, who was also playing with him, and we just fully all squealed at each other.
Yeah, the plot is that a paranormal investigator has come to investigate a haunting in the castle, and he has gone missing. And you're going in as like a rescue team to rescue a paranormal investigator. you can use your imaginations as to what happens. But it's, yeah, I mean, I remember writing that game, and it was just such fun to write. One of the puzzles that's still in there came to me when I was brushing my teeth at like 1 a.m. And I remember just brushing my teeth and going, that's a good idea. And then having to run with a notebook and scribble it all down. But that's still in the game.
I think, off the record, which puzzle is that?
The toothpaste puzzle, obviously.
The toothpaste puzzle, yes.
In that 600-year-old game.
I can only imagine Sam like stood in front of his bathroom, which is like a Victorian style bathroom with like, loads of portion bottles, like a chemist. Okay, so your escape room survived through COVID, which unfortunately for a lot of small escape rooms, they did not have the opportunity to do so. So in what way did you change the way you did business to survive and come out the other side and actually still have a full staff team, still have people available to run games and also be able to run games in that weird in between? Tell us all about it.
Well, it was tough. The staff were sorted because we got furlough scheme. So the government furlough scheme took care of that. All the staff, apart from me, were fine. I was the only person not getting paid.
Sounds like running a business.
Yeah. So we went online really quick. I think we got our first online Zoom treasure hunt available 2 or 3 days after lockdown. I think I spent those first 2 or 3 days just making what is now a very basic treasure hunt game on the website, but something which goes back to sort of Mr. Borrowdale's study. The puzzles are good in those games. They're still online if you want to play them on the Escape Rooms Durham website. They're treasure hunts around the world, essentially, using the internet. The idea was that people could play them over Zoom, and we were all having lots of Zoom meetings. And we got in nice and early. That was just complete luck. A couple of newspapers played them really early on, like week 2 of lockdown, and were very kind about them and wrote a couple of reviews. And we got a couple of nice clients, and that lasted us through lockdown. So we created some nice, relatively simple online games. Now, by simple, I mean they were simple interfaces. The puzzles are challenging puzzles, and they're tricky games to play, which is, I think, is why people like them. It was a real challenge. But we were trying to replicate that idea of playing together as a team. The idea that on Zoom, one person could be on Google Maps, another person might be on social media. You're the social media person. You're the Google Maps person. You need to search on YouTube. Meanwhile, you're going to be, downloading this PDF file and looking through it for this kind of information. The idea that you could play as a team in separate places, looking a bit like Mission Impossible or looking at your screens. We tried to emulate that. The actual back end of it, the technical level, wasn't complicated at all. I mean, I built it, and I'm a technophobe. I just built it into our website system. But I think the success of that is because the focus that we placed on it was on how are our players going to feel, instead of what's the best technology we can use to do this, or what's the flashiest looking interface we can use. Oh, what you mean? It's just in the internet? Yeah, you don't have to download anything. It's literally just a website. Okay, but actually we put a lot of energy into how do we want people to feel while they're playing this, and crucially, how are they going to interact with each other and feel because of that? And that's why I think those online games were successful. And that, thankfully, alongside the furlough scheme and some of the grants and things, got me and a couple of the other staff through that initial nasty period.
So those games, if you would like to play them, are Mr. X, Agent A, The Hunters, and I think Santa's Christmas Rush is still up there.
So all the online games, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think they're absolutely brilliant. They got me through lockdown too.
Yeah, they're good fun.
They're really fun. And I think there's a YouTube clip of, I can't remember who it was, what they called.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel who contacted us and just said, we'd like to play Mr. X and do it as part of our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and type in Mr. X Escape Room, I'm just doing it now. There it is.
Oh.
We'll pop it in the show notes.
The video is called I Took on the Hardest Online Escape Room in the UK. Now, that's what they said. I don't know if it is.
Bold claim.
That's them playing Mr. X. It's a channel called VYB. And that's on 13,000 views, that video. Isn't that good?
That's really good.
So if you could go back to when you first started the business, obviously it sort of came about by chance. What advice would you give yourself, or how would you change what you did in order to do things differently? Or would you just sort of leave it as it went because everything happens for a reason?
Well, certainly a little bit of that. I think I would have liked to have been more ambitious in the early days, but maybe that's because I needed to ease in a little bit. I don't know. I think with those initial games, we made some very safe choices, and essentially both games at the city centre site, Lab Heist and Mr. Borrowdale's Study, although they're still called the same title, both of those games are on about version 4 or version 5, where they've gone through updates. We didn't promote that as an update as such because there wasn't enough being updated to promote it as a new game, but we just put in different technology. We troubleshooted a couple of problem puzzles that had maybe been a problem for a couple of weeks, and we can do better than that, and just smoothed out those rough edges. I think we probably could have been a bit more ambitious in the early days, but everything happens for a reason, and probably part of the learning experience, isn't it? Probably the reason I didn't do it is because I couldn't do it, and I can now. So yeah, I think we approached it from the right direction. I think we've always approached the games from how does this make people feel? And, Helena will tell you this. The little mantra that we always say to staff is not are they playing the game correctly? Not are they obeying the rules? Are they getting the right answers quickly enough? The only question I think you need to ask as a game operator is this team having fun? Is this team enjoying their experience? Because that's different for every single team. So having fun for one team, as a lot of enthusiasts will know, is receiving no clues, really concentrating and going as quickly as possible because they want to get their PB or they want to beat the time. That's not fun for lots and lots of teams, especially the market we have in Durham, which is a lot of families. They want the help and they want a bit of banter with it as well. So we always came in with that attitude of it's about fun. We're here to make people smile and be happy, and that's the point. And we always started with that. So maybe is the answer to the question no? I don't know.
Would not change a thing. No, that's fair. I feel like a lot of the people that we've spoken to have also said something similar, whereby they've learned from all of the mistakes that they've made. So even the things that did go wrong has helped them in some way to progress within the business and to make their games more fun and ambitious. And it's sort of aided more so than hindered.
Yeah. And you also see that in the industry, right? You see as the industry develops, as games change over a number of years, you see the industry shifting in different directions. And that's all because we're all learning all the time and creating new stuff.
I think that's one of the great things about the escape room community is how welcoming they are and how open they are about what they're doing and how willing they are to share different ideas so that the community can grow as a whole, as opposed to just one sort of escape room sort of shining through. Everybody's sort of willing to help in progressing the escape room industry itself within the UK, which is always great to see.
Absolutely. Well, you even see it going to play other escape rooms, and game operators are also really excited about showing you their office and showing you how they run their games. The amount of other game operators' offices I've been in and gone, oh, that's fun. Why don't we have that? And it's simple stuff like when we started, we had screens that were just on desks. And in the last few years, we decided, actually, no, why not put them on the walls? Why not make it a community in this office? Make sure everybody can speak to each other. Everyone's sat in a line so we can actually see what everybody else is doing as well. Just building a nice community in your own team, in other escape rooms as well. Like we've got quite a few escape rooms that we also speak to and see what they're doing. And like Sam's got a really lovely relationship with the other escape room owners in the area. Yeah, we all like to speak to each other and be a bit
nothing
nosy.
worse than going into an escape room where it's really clear that the people either owning the place or the people running it don't care about the game. They've not built it. It's not theirs. They've bought it and they've just put it up and they're just running it. That's a bit soulless. And, there's no point in that for me. Like, I'm not doing this to become a millionaire, for God's sake. Like, that's never going to happen. You don't go into an escape room for the cold, hard cash. It's about the fun of, look what we did with this idea. That's what I like about it.
I think you can feel that in a game. You can feel when there's no sort of passion or drive behind the puzzles or the story writing, and it's just sort of puzzles for the sake of puzzles.
Or even if there was at one point, but those people have moved on and it's now being operated and introduced by someone so many steps away that's been lost. I think you can feel that as well.
Yeah, that shared passion's missing.
So if you had a unlimited budget to create any room that you possibly could, what would you build?
What would I build?
Bear in mind, last week's guests from Dreadlock said they would buy Fort Boyard and helicopter people in. So go as wild and lavish as you want.
And they had tigers. They had tigers too.
Okay, I'd buy France. And
Wow, an
Oh.
escape country would be crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, there are definitely some of those in the world right now, but
Yep.
we'll not get onto those politics.
what would I buy? I think if I had an unlimited budget, okay, here's a couple of ideas, right? What about an anti-gravity escape room in one of those planes that nearly goes to space?
Ooh.
So it's an anti-gravity room. So you actually fly the team up into like anti-gravity. That'd be fun.
It'd be wild. You'd have to have everything chained to the wall. Imagine resetting that room. The padlocks would be everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, here's another one, right? And this is quite dark, but it's an
Oh.
idea that we came up with years ago. And I actually think
Ooh.
there is a real room in there somewhere. You know, I don't want anyone emailing in or Grandad here. What do people use now? TikTok. I don't know. Okay, imagine this. Escape the hive. So a full scale beehive as if you as a human are the size of a bee, right?
Right.
Okay.
And it's an escape room filled with real bees.
Oh no.
Okay.
Hold up.
Now, we discussed this one night in the pub. Now, listen, there's some risk assessment issues,
So,
as well as some animal welfare issues. But it'd be a good game, wouldn't it?
I can already hear Peter emailing in.
How dare he? He's not thinking about allergies.
I just
No,
think
not
the-
Peter. Peter.
Oh, as in Peter, as in
PETA is in the animal
the animal
organization.
organization.
Not somebody called Peter.
You wouldn't like just some
But then,
man.
let's take that idea further because we all had a good laugh about that. Oh, that's horrible! Like that would be a horrible thing. But then I was like, well, could you do that? Could you create the effect of that without using bees? Could you using sound and vibration and lighting and other kind of illusion tactics? Could you create the effect of that? I just think that would be absolutely horrible. But fascinating. And you know what the escape room community is like. There's some sickos out there who go for that kind of thing. So
That is true.
You could have bees, but just they'd have to be in like a container and
I
be
wouldn't
able
want
to
to
get
put bees in a
outside.
container in an escape room. I don't think they'd be into it.
No, you
I
can
want
build whole hives inside of your living room that
give
have
them a little hatch to the outside world.
yeah, so you can see what they're doing and what they're
Mm.
building.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe bees in anti-gravity. Maybe this is a combination idea. Maybe that's what we need. I don't know. I think the thing with the
Yeah.
unlimited budget is there's always a temptation to go bigger, and maybe there's a point where is there like, you know, if we draw like a bell curve thing, is there a point where size of escape room against enjoyment of escape room is equal, you know, x equals y goes up, but then eventually the bigger the room it tails off, and the bigger the room the less fun it is. Do you know what I mean?
We say that, but I mean, it has just closed down. But Dark Park in the Netherlands had an entire warehouse that was an escape experience, more so than a room.
Yeah,
And it was a several-hour experience, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews about it.
I'm sure it was great. Yeah,
But I'm sure, yeah, there's definitely a point where it's like too much.
I'd love to sync something. Like imagine a set that you could flood convincingly every game and then reset it. That'd be expensive, wouldn't it?
Are we giving people oxygen tanks here, or are we just actually drowning?
Listen,
teams?
Corey, we'll work on the safety later, right? We'll work out the details.
You'd have to have a whole pool. I want to write this game now.
I mean, look at movie sets with like full scale things in pools. It is 100%
That's
attainable.
doable.
It is doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might just drown some people in the process, but
Just
I mean,
No, that's
it's all a learning
that's a
curve at the end
liable
of the
accusation, that Corey.
day. Yeah, if you can't prove it and you can't find the body, did it happen?
Mm.
That's what the well at Lumley Castle's for.
that is not an endorsement. That is not endorsed by Escape Rooms Durham.
If there do happen to be any bodies found at the bottom of the well, we are not held legally
Nothing to do with
liable for
me.
that.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have asked me, so did they ever find her body? And I've just got to be like, I don't know. Yeah,
Dunno.
maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
You'd have to ask staff here.
Or the spirit.
Or the spirits, have we done a seance at Lumley?
I mean, Sam's done a seance at Lumley.
Yeah.
He's
Theatrical
done a
experience.
seance.
Have a
at
seance
Lumley.
show. Yeah, that happened there. Yeah. I mean, we'd need another podcast to talk about that. But
I know.
You'll find that on our theatre podcast.
No.
We do not have time for that.
So you've slightly touched on it, but what are the future plans for Escape Rooms Durham? Can you give us anything, or is it fully under lock and key?
We're launching a new game.
Woo!
It's still in the lots of coffee writing bits of paper stage, but we would love it to be open by the end of this year, so winter 2024. And it's going to be in Durham City Centre. And that's all I can tell you about that. We've just launched this week a brand new live around the streets of Durham treasure hunt that you can play through our website. If you're in Durham, you would have to be there physically, but it gives you a nice walking tour of Durham City. So we've just launched that for the summer, and then hopefully a brand new game, which would be the first game in, let me do the counting. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First new game in 5 years in the city centre site in Durham. Not including temporary Christmas games, yes.
Putting some puzzle pieces together, you mentioned that Borrowdale might be saying goodbye earlier. So are we insinuating that this is going to replace Borrowdale?
Who knows, Corey? Who knows? Maybe little Sherlock over here has worked something out, but you're not going to know, are you?
So where can our listeners find you?
We are on various social medias. We're mainly Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, Escape Durham. Instagram, Escape Rooms Durham. Or go to escapedurham.co.uk and the links are there. And if you want to follow me, if you want to say hi to me, that's always nice. Nice to hear from people. I'm on Instagram at the Sam Lupton, the most egoless user.
Is that brag number 2? Because we've yet to use that.
That's brag number 2, yeah. Sam Lupton wasn't available, so I just went for the Sam Lupton to differentiate from the guy who got there first.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Obviously, you're a good friend of ours, and it almost just made sense to have you on here. You've given us some incredible insight into what has gone into Escape Rooms Durham and what is to come, and obviously all of the fun things that you're doing. As we mentioned, Sam is on tour in the future with the Only Fools and Horses musical, so get tickets to go see that. Sam also, as mentioned, does some seance shows. Which, are we doing those this year?
Seance won't be happening this year, but seance things are afoot. That's all I'm going to say.
Ooh.
You're full of ominous
I know.
plugs today.
Well, the next year I'm doing a tour, and obviously the show is going to be happening at night, and during the day you're going to find me in various coffee shops around the UK scribbling puzzle notes and things like that. So we'll see.
It's so exciting to hear what you're doing and how Escape Rooms Durham is doing.
And also, people seem to think we're in the middle of nowhere. We're only 3 hours from King's Cross. Like, come up. Well, I know we're far away, but it's a nice place. Come say hi.
And if you don't want to stick around, it's en route to Scotland.
It is.
As always, if you do enjoy the podcast, please do leave a review on whichever platform you listen to. It really helps us get out to the new audience. If you have other friends that are interested in escape rooms, then by all means share it with them. And if you'd like to check out the other previous episodes, you can do so. And you can check out our blog where we have loads of reviews and we have recommendations on puzzle boxes, immersive experiences, and in-person escape rooms. Thank you so much, Sam. I'm sure we might have you back on here in the future when new rooms are released. But as always, thank you very much. And we shall see you on the next episode.
Thank you. See you later, guys.
Bye.